Good morning everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing another little piece for the Stitchery swap. And but before we get on to the actual project, under here is Victoria's. So look away, Victoria, if you don't want to see this. She is finished. So there it is, dusty pink, burgundy, just soft neutral tones. So I didn't do much more than what I did discuss in the last video. I seed stitched inside the heart just to sort of give it a little bit more definition, and I also did a split stitch around the outside of the heart just to make sure that little satin stitch that the machinist had created there back in the factory was nice and secure. I was just a little concerned that it might come up, so I end up doing a little edge, if you can see the little cream edge around it, just to hold it down into position. I had thought of doing lines of stitching across the top, and I started, then I end up coming down here and I sort of framed it. I sort of felt I really want to see this linen at the top it's just a beautiful piece of linen. So I sort of felt like just less is more. I don't know if that makes sense. The mystery of the third leaf, it just didn't happen. There was not one spot there that it really worked. And I sort of happy that it didn't, because I've got a random leaf thing happening. I've got this guy here. There's a little fellow peeking out here. There's the two that were in the plush. I didn't stitch them with gold like I thought. I don't know, I just felt I got to a point with it. I'm like, just stop. It just didn't need any more. So I seed stitched in there, like I said. I used the two buttons. That dark pink one didn't end up making it. It just didn't look right. I did some little running stitch in under there on that piece of pink. I overcast stitched around that piece of ticking. Continued the frame effect along the bottom here, so it sort of feels like the whole thing is framed. And then I just clustered lots of beads, which is sort of the signature thing I'm doing to most of the pieces. So I left that leaf up in the air, a little one. This one is anchored. He had been cut into, so he just needed a little extra stitching. But this one I've left three-dimensional, so it feels like it's coming away, because this is so raised here. So yeah, there's my next little piece. So let's put him aside. You can come back now, Victoria, but I bet she's had a sneaky peek. Of course she has. I wouldn't be able to help myself. Would not be able to help myself. Okay, so let's get ourselves another piece and get started on the next one. So we need 12 centimeters. I'll just go a little bit bigger because Corrine just can't stay within the parameters. Oh, a couple of them I've drifted out a little bit. I hope it's not a problem at the other end when they start putting their pieces together on something. So, oh gosh, I tell you, just can't do what I'm meant to be doing. So this is my little template of the actual space I need to be working in. So today's one, I'm feeling like a splash of colour. It's going to be Sonia. Hello, Sonia. Sonia has a YouTube channel. Sonia Steptoe is the name of her channel. She has been crafting a long time. Her videos are so diverse and so, oh, you never know. Every day there'll be something new. And it's fantastic because it just, I don't know, I get into a project. Sonia will visit many projects and then just pick it up, do something else, next. And it's fantastic because it's giving us, I guess, resources to think about. Not resources, that's the wrong word. It's giving us ideas, you know, and they're so random. And I love how if there's nothing to watch on YouTube, just go back through her back catalogue and just click anything. and she could be making a bug. In the next video, it could be embroidering a lady's face. Like, they're so random. It is so good. It's a really good, she reminds me of a mixed bag of lollies. You just pop your hand in there and you never know what you're going to get. I think that's a saying from Forrest Gump, isn't it? Anyway, so Sonia's all about colour. If you've seen any of her pieces, she is not afraid of colour, but I know she hates red. So I'm thinking of doing something with this. Now this is a pillow slip, and I thought maybe there was something here that could be utilised on hers as my feature piece. With those little birds and things, I could do a little bird. He's not sitting with anything, but this one's going to be very different to the others. She would like him. She's always doing insects, birds, butterflies, dragonflies. Like, the girl is not afraid of tackling an animal. I get a little bit daunted by animals. I sometimes think, oh, does that even look like the animal? So this little bird's going to be my little feature piece. So as I would do normally, I fussy cut it out. Oh, maybe we do a nest for the bird to be visiting. That'd be fun. I'm just thinking, oh wow, just surround him in flowers. And if the flowers were all a completely different colour, where's that? I'm looking for something that maybe a nest could be part of. What about that? And we build in a nest here. Let's take that. It's like the gift that keeps giving, this pillow slip. I need to swing back by this shop. It's, oh gosh, here we go. It's either bath and bed or bed and bath. I need to go back and just have a little look at some of their other fancy pillow slips, because now we're having a change of seasons again. Sometimes there's new embroideries on pillow slips and they're just fantastic little fussy cut pictures. It's like if you're in the scrapbook world and you print out a page of birds and butterflies to fussy cut, and they're your little decorative elements that you can build into your piece. That's what I view these types of things as. Just little interesting bits that could be used in a project. And it helps bring different textures into your work, because they've used a really satiny thread here on a big industrial sewing machine. So if I was to build leaves or flowers in around it, it sort of helps create quite a interesting detail by having different thread colours. So let's see if I can collage together a story with this little bird. Okay. All right. Now, we've got that. We've got the bird. We need some fabric. Here it is. We need some fancy fabric. We need some old fancy fabric. Let's delve into the bigger box where the bigger pieces are. And why can't I find anything really nice? Goodness me, there's some. No, that's not fancy enough. We need some fancy stuff, don't we? I'm sure there's some around. There it is. There's it in here. There's a piece. I love this stuff as well. Whether that suits or not, I don't know. Some of that. Okay, so we're going to do quite a neutral background, I think. So let's just lay down some bases. So it's like getting your background sorted. This has got a bit of a soft pink undertone to this linen. So pretty. I used it in Victoria's. It nearly looks like it's had a wash of pink go through it. I really like it. It's just taken that beige away. I'm just squaring it up a little bit, just trying to make it look a little interesting. Gosh, that's a bit crooked. I'm not too worried because I might put it up the top. Something will cover it. I'm not worried at all. Flip that over. Okay. A little bit of that. So you're getting a background that is classic me, Sonia. And then probably the colour is classic Sonia. The bird and, oh, I don't like that piece. Oh, that's an interesting piece. Oh, I like that. It's got a bit of a swish of something on it. It's got a real velveteen feel about it. So let's put that in there. That might feel like a bit of a branch. I don't know. Who knows? It's my story and I'm telling it. So let's just get some neutrals down, and that way our little bird and whatever he's going to be doing is going to pop. We've got to have a little bit of this. This is from Rachel in Italy. You're all getting a little bit of this. Well, most of you do. As long as it fits the design. There's no use putting something in just because, and it just stands out like anything. But I'm thinking we've got ourselves a nice base now to build on that's neutral. I feel like there's something there. Let's go to the laces. Okay, time to visit the French laces. There'd have to be something in here. A little morsel. Always something somewhere. Where's my scissors gone? Oh, I've got a mess. How quickly does it just get into chaos when you're collaging? No. One of these little tattings. Oh, she'd appreciate tatting. So we'd have to work something like that in. So does that mean I need to turn this guy up? No, leave him where he was. Gosh, I'm supposed to be doing brights and I just can't. Just leave it on there for now. I still feel like I need something there. Maybe I need to look for a different fabric. Maybe I'll put a bit of the stripe down there. Just a pop of something else. Yep, that's better. maybe the tatting, maybe that could be the nest. Maybe I'm not got enough colour. All right, let's start building up our piece. So we've got our branch. We need a nest. Excuse me. Oh, goodness me. So let's anchor the branch there. Let's get that in as the start of our nest. We can stitch some little beads in there, but we need some fibres. So we've got some eyelash yarn and we've got a little bit of twine here. Gets a bit fiddly when you start getting to this. So let's take some bits off of this. Maybe fold them over. Might just do it without the tatting at this stage, because I don't want to overpower the tatting. You want to see it. Let's just take a little bit of this. Just tease it out a little, make it look a little bit more twig-like. Lay that in there. Then we can take a little bit of this one. Give it a little tease. Bird nests are great to make because you just need a heap of little fibres. So it looks like our little bird's been busily collecting. Yep, I like that. So it's got quite a hard front on it, so I might just pop another piece of this across the front so it looks a little bit softer. And then let's have a look at this tatting. How can we bring that in? Do we just pop it on the front? Yeah, I like that. That'll help pin everything down. So the bird's nest is in behind and that little piece of tatting. Oh my goodness, can you imagine making that? Sonia will appreciate that. I reckon she'll look at that and going, oh my goodness. Back in the day when tatting was popular, that is a lot of work right there. So what I'm going to do is if I anchor if I get some pins in, would be a good idea, Corrine. If I anchor that with some stitches now, I like how it's coming forward a bit too, the whole thing, so I can nestle some little eggs in there, beads, and they'll look like they're down in behind that tatting. So let's just scoop that down. Now everything is going skew with. So technically you would invisible stitch down all of that background. If you were a good girl like me, not, you would do that first. But the girl can't wait to get to the bird nest. So I'm going to get that secure. Now this background, I'm thinking, I don't know, what will I do? I'm thinking maybe a heap of seed stitch because I want to blend the bird into it. So seed stitch is a lovely way to sort of join lots of different textures together because you've got that one common thread. pulling it all together. Now, if you pick a thread that has a bit of a silky, pearlized finish, it really helps because it bounces the light around on your piece. So therefore, you get more of a cohesive look. Am I securing that without it being straight? Probably. That's good. I like that. I just put a pin in him because I don't want him to move, because if he goes anywhere, he's not going to link up really well. As in, there's going to be edges that are lined up, but too straight is what I'm trying to say. Okay, feel like we've got it cornered to some degree. So I won't stitch the whole edge of that tatting down because I want it to feel a little bit fluted. It's got a real mishmash of fabrics here from all sorts of ages. That tatting, oh gosh, I hate to think how old that is. I'm really putting the horse before the cart. Talk about make it hard on myself. If you're doing a piece similar to this at home, please do your background first. Get all your bird in position. You get your branch into position. And then your nest. Like, I seriously should be showing you the way that it should be done. But I'm not. I'm being naughty because I just want to get straight to the bird's nest. I'm just now going to use this thread that I have left to secure down my background. So I whip up that side, that edge. And I've managed to stay within the confines of the 10 centimetre by 10 centimetre square. So that's a good effort. One needs to be congratulated. So this piece is me in the background, and the bird and that little sprig is Sonia Colours. I hope she likes it. So I sat down with in my head I was going to do lots of brights, and oh gosh, you just never know where these little pieces are going to go. I just knew that that piece of pillar slip was going to be something, and I was focused on flowers. Okay, it's coming out to this outer edge. That's all nice and secure. I've got to get one more stitch down through here. So those of you who aren't yet within the swap and you want to be, go to Annie Claxton's Facebook site. Now it's called Arty Farty Annie's group. Join the group and just put a comment up to say that you would like to find some swap partners and mention where you are. So if you're in the UK or you're in America, then people can go, well, that's, you know, achievable. And then because our little squares are of a size that can fit in a normal envelope, like a card, it just keeps the price down. If you start getting out of hand with it, before you know it, you'll be doing $10 postage per, you know, stitchery, and that's crazy. I'd rather you go and spend some money in a fabric store than give it to the postal service. So don't go and spend money that's not needed to be spent. So that's why I'm staying within Australia, because I know I can post off my pieces for a couple dollars. Otherwise, it just costs too much. Like, it's just getting out of hand. Don't even get me started. I have my day job is the Christmas shops. So we do, ship stock or orders to people. And the price of freight that I'm seeing go through on some of these orders is just insane. I guess I'm looking from, we've been at it 15 years, and I guess I'm reminiscing the price of freight from 15 years ago, which, of course things go up. I'm very aware of that. But, oh boy, just shake my head, especially when I see it's a delivery that's one suburb away. I don't know. I don't know what's with people these days. Think about your coins and where you invest them. And that freight could have been an extra sale for a business that you passed on the way to me. Even if it's just a coffee and a piece of cake from a family-run business, and then you end up at the Christmas shack and buy your napkins and a set of lights for your party. Instead of giving that money to these huge freight companies that are slowly gobbling up all the family freight companies. That's really happening here in Australia. The big boys are in town, and they are just constantly absorbing little companies. So the freight dollar is really, I don't know. Let it go, Corrine. It's just my feelings on the topic. Haven't we got melancholy? If we start discussing the world economy on our craft channels, we'll all go to sleep. So let's move along from that. So I'm just going to whip across this top edge. I feel like I've got everything secured with just some little stitches. Now, a little bird, I could probably start him next. And, I need to get rid of those pins. Let's just finish what you're going to finish, girl. I can hear my grandmother. I can hear my school teacher. The other one was stop talking, Corrine, and concentrate on what you're doing. And yet that has become such a benefit in my older years when it comes to YouTube. See, I knew I had a skill. Maybe not so much when I'm trying to be taught something. Okay. Alrighty. I think I have got this. See how quick these are? They're just great. Especially if you get onto a series of them that you really love the colours and you just wash yourself through blues and turquoises, or, just little stitcheries, and then pop them on a frame. Or what I see the other day and I thought was beautiful was, it was a timber, what's the best words for it? A sandwich tray. So it was rectangular, long, and it was made out of a piece of timber that had been carved like camphor laurel or something like that. It was just beautiful. And then a series of little stitcheries had been done, like exactly what we're doing here. similar size, maybe a fraction smaller, and they were all in a row on this piece of timber tray, and there was a story drifting. For example, let's say it was the birds and you had the branches all drifting along, and then here's a bird and back here is the nest. Just so sweet. Okay, so now I'm going to just knot that off so I feel like it is secure, which didn't happen. And I'm going to get myself a new piece of thread, because to secure the little bird, it's going to take a bit of thread to get around him. So let's get that going. Okay, so the same thing will happen with the little branch, but it's held at the moment in position. I might just pop a few little stitches in him in case I catch him. So all right, I think it is caught because it's underneath the nest, but I'll just pop a few in there just to hold him. He's not going anywhere now. You can see why you do the nest first, so that you didn't see. There's my thread. What's going on, girl? It's better. Now, I'll work my way up this little branch, this little leaf, and then see, I'm catching the fibres of my little nest. But that's okay. There's no rush, so I can just, after each stitch, if anything's caught in it. See, you know, this is the reality of it. You do these pieces and then you suddenly decide you want to do this and you want to do that, and it's not necessarily in the order that it should be done. So you need to know how to sneak in new elements to a design, because you've gone off on a tangent and started adding cherry blossoms or whatever. So it's doable. Because it's slow stitch, you can take your time and slide a needle in behind something to get a few stitches in, or a few beads, or, you know, so don't be afraid that, oh, I've missed the step because I've done this and done that and I can't now add. You can. Don't be afraid to, you know, go back and revisit. All right, so now, little bird, let's get you into position. He's got to stay within the parameters, and he's got to look like he's doing what he's meant to be doing. I feel like he needs to be actually leaving the scene. So there's his nest below him, and he's I feel like he needs to go. Yeah. So what I would do now is, my thread's not quite where he is, so I'm just going to invisible stitch my way up to him. So that just, in there a stitch, in there a stitch. So I sneak my way up to his edge, and then, oh, see, that's why I should have done that branch entirely down, because I will catch it. Now that I'm up with him, I'm just going to slide my needle up against the embroidery and overcast. You could do a blanket stitch, but I'm just going to do an overcast stitch. Nice and close, take your time and stitch your little element down. So if this was a flower that you've cut out of a pillar slip or just a beautiful piece of fabric and you've fussy cut out a flower, same principle, just get it secured down. Working your way around it, checking, there's my perimeters, see, oh gosh girl, I'm going to put a pin in that because what will happen is that wing is going to kick up and before I know it, I'm going to get around there and it will be out of the perimeter. So that is how I'm going to get my little bird onto my piece. I really like how he's popping. You know, everything's so neutral. The bark of the tree, the branches, the stump, not the stump. What am I trying to say? The trunk of the tree. And then there's these little green sprigs. Now, the other thing we could have a quick look at, I've got time, yes, is go back to that pillow slip and see if there is another piece of greenery that we could add in. So I might just stop there and let's go back. Let's put that. I think we've got enough. Let's tidy up first, for goodness sakes. I sort of feel like I need a bit more lace. Hang on. This guy. I think that needs to go in there. Yep. Yep. Now I have stitched down there, so that, okay, so here's another example of you've been working along your piece and you've now decided you want to add another element because you feel like it needs a little bit more interest, which I sort of felt with this side. Is I'm just going to snip the invisible stitch that I put there. It's only the one of them, two of them, and now I can lift that and slide it in underneath. So there's a little bit of lace Sonia from France. It's so fine, so delicate, and that'll create a nice little feature up in that top corner. And that is now in. So I'll just come back through there when I get there and just do some little invisible stitches around. So there we go. I like that because I've sort of, once again, here's that line that I always seem to create. So I'm heading from the nest, the branch, up to that little corner. So let's put some stuff away. How quickly we pull out gear and the desk just explodes. I don't think there'll be anything else in here I'll need. It's staying rather tidy. I'm pleased about that. The crocheted bits, random bits. Oh, you know what I'd like to put in Sonia's is that tape measure. Because she's a sewer. She's a sewer, so here we go. We need to put, I know it doesn't fit the bird thing, but we have to. We've got to. We just got to. The girl is a sewer. So I'm going to add, what do I add it up there? On that edge. Oh, I like it there. Just behind the bird. The other thing I need to do before we decide if that goes there is, do we add another little piece? See this little guy? I don't know if it'd fit. I don't think, like he would. See this little fellow here 3 little leaves. That's perfect size for us. Yeah, let's do it. Let's chop him out. We'll fussy cut him. You know the other thing I've got? Oh my goodness. This has been burning a hole in my stash and I haven't yet found. Yeah, it just doesn't. See how it's got a yellow tone to it? I have not been able to match that in with anything yet. And I picked up a platinum one. I think I used this, yeah, I've used this in one of the sample boards with Honey Bear. And we were working out what dress she was to get. Spotlight. It's bad news. That's our Michael's equivalent for you guys in the in America. Not sure what you guys have in the UK. I'm sure you've got a big box haberdashery something. Don't get me started on what they've done to the little haberdashery industry. Oh gosh, remember when you were a kid and you'd go to those treasure troves of stores that you go in there and be, in my case, an old lady behind the register with a bit of an attitude, but you'd buy in there, like I'm talking a country town now, you'd buy in there the uniforms for school, you'd buy a zip, a button, some fabrics, some pretty fabrics to make a dress. You know, those places. I'm thinking that can pop up there, but I don't want to get rid of that number. Where's me? Where is a pin? I want to see the number 3. Otherwise, you just don't realise it's a tape measure. So let's get that branch right down. We can bring the tape measure down now to sit there. Or we put the tape measure, I'm going to put the tape measure down here. Change my mind. That's where it's going to go. And what I might do, if I can, but I have stitched, I might, oh no, I like that. Yep. So this little bird, in the process of making his mess, here comes the story, a nest or a mess, he has grabbed himself a piece of tape measure and added to his cluster. Oh my goodness. Now let's talk eggs. Down in that little nest, we need some eggs. So, beads. And this is the one that come to mind because it's a decent size. These are 9mm. And I feel like it's a good size, yeah. I can stitch that into the back there because I've got like a bit of height and depth in there, so I can actually bury those little beads. Yeah, they'll be perfect. All right, so I need a little tray to put all my bits in so that when I go to the couch later on today, they are with me. So I'll need that. That will work. I don't like how that is not meeting that. See how the stripe is not meeting? I wonder. You know what I haven't added to this, which is classic me, is a morsel of a doily. Okay, maybe that's what I need in that little gap. So I'm just going to go through my bits. I'm sort of looking for half of him. Oh, there was one on my pin cushion. No, it's no longer there. I must have stitched it somewhere. That would work. But I'm looking for that. Okay, let's have a little look. So we're going to have popping out and then a little leaf can come over it, so we can sort of nestle that in there a little bit, and then that's better. Yep, that's better. This could also work, so let's just audition a little bit of this soft crocheting. It's so fine. I sort of feel like it's going to get lost and we're not appreciating it for what it is. Oh no, I do like that. No, that's all right. Yep, that's the one. I'll just cut it away and I'm going to attempt to get that in there, that over the top. Talk about degree of difficulty. I even feel like I need something. I'll come back a bit from that edge. See where the tape measure ends, about where the red bead head is? I feel like I need a little something right there. No, that's too big, of course. I was thinking the little piece inside. All right, let's have another little look. How are we going for time? Plenty of time. I feel like the tape measure needs a decorative something there. A button. Hello. Oh, I know the very button. I will grab a linen button. Nice and old. Hang on. Yep. A nice old linen button. Sonia will appreciate that. They're not the easiest to come by too, so if you ever see them, is that the right size? Yeah. So this little bird has a tree that is a combination of vintage laces and bits and pieces. So that little button will just stitch in there, nestle in nicely. There we go. I'm happy with that. Done. Yep, I love it. Very good. All right, guys. I will, well, we've got time. Look at the time. We're still here. I'm going to stitch that button down. My thread is still attached, but I think the thread's up there at the bird, so let's just leave that thread. Let's come down with a new thread and we will secure the button. We will secure the tape measure and probably that lace, and then when I can come back with more time and do those leaves, all of those elements in behind will be in position. So let's get that button stitched down. Do you remember the first time you stitched a button on when you were a little person and you had someone show you how to do a button? Do you remember who that would have been? Was it a school teacher as part of a little stitching class? Was it your mum? Was it your grandmother? Did you teach yourself? Did you get to a point one day and go, oh, button fell off. I wonder how I stitched that on, and just figured it out? That's going to trigger some memories. I hope it wasn't traumatic. I hope the person that taught you wasn't a mean piece of work. I always remember Mum telling me when she was learning the piano, at one point she had a teacher that was just a mean piece of work. And she would have a ruler and she'd tap the piano to keep sound, keep the beat, which you'd think, well, that's all right. That sounds like something a music teacher would do. But what do you reckon she did with that ruler when, oh, I shouldn't laugh, when you made a wrong note? Oh, yeah, you're picturing it, aren't you? So picture my mum. Was a tiny lady. She's a very short, fine little lady. So as a little girl, she would have been a little itty bitty thing, cute little button. She had red hair. She had the softest, most gentle, caring nature. She would have toddled off to her music lesson in this dark timber house. I know the house. And she would have been sitting there doing her lesson. And here's the old girl, tap, tap with the ruler, keeping beat to that piece of music. And it was probably a horrifically hard piece of music, you'd imagine it. And then, bam, right across the top of her hand, she would be slapped by the ruler. And she said sometimes she'd come out of that class and the top of her hand was just red. So she said it did inspire her to practice and practice and practice and practice so that that piece of music was going to be correct, which could potentially then reduce the amount her hand was beaten. Isn't that horrible? Horrible, horrible. But she did stick with her piano, and she ended up playing a lot of music for our church. When I was growing up, she was an organist for the church. She wasn't the main organist. There was another lady. She was actually a family member as well, who same age as Mum. They all grew up together in this country town, and she was very good at the piano and organ. And the church had a little organ. So she was the number one pianist. But then as that little church got closed down and the congregation moved to the next biggest town, there was a lot more pianists available. So only occasionally Mum would be asked to do, play. But in the later years, as a lot of those pianists unfortunately passed away, Mum was the go-to girl. There was a few still around, but they did share the workload, and I know she'd do quite a lot of funerals because some of them were working, and so they weren't available through the week for those types of services. And I used to ask her, how do you do it? Because at that stage I was very young and I was sort of a bit fearful of the whole funeral thing. And I'd say, how do you not A, cry because they're sad, and B, get freaked out because it's a funeral? And she'd say, oh, look, you'll understand one day it's not that type of freak out. That's just a child's brain thinking about it. But she said the sadness, she said it never bothered her, and there were many funerals where she knew who had passed because she was concentrating on the music. She said the last thing you want to do is jigger up the piece of music. So she said the funeral slips by because you're watching the notes, you're thinking about the next piece. She was often on an organ, so it wasn't her comfort zone, so she'd be making sure that it was all set up and all the plugs were in the right spot so that the next piece was ready. And she said by the time I'd looked over the piece and I've got to do that, don't forget to do this chord, and that's for the 4th chord, she'd look up and it was her turn to go again. Play, play, play. And then she'd be flipping to the next piece, set the chord. And she said, it's work. It's work. So there you go. That was my golden question for how she managed to do a funeral, which is often so sad. It was work. She had to concentrate. She said the last thing you want to do is hit the wrong notes or forget your position. That was her biggest fear, is she'd lose track of where she was as she come to the end of a page and then turn the page and then start again on the next, making that seamless. But yeah, there's a random thought. How did I go from sewing on a button to that? It's that teacher, isn't it? It's that person that teaches you something. It's either a positive experience or a negative experience. All right, guys, I think that's it for me. I've got that nice and secure. Got some nice little pieces of lace in there. So I can now just finish stitching down the rest of the little elements. And I've still got a few more stitcheries to do. So I will be back in the next video with another one. And I'll show you this one complete. So I hope you like it, Sonia. Hello, Sonia. Thank you, Sonia, for everything you do for our industry. You're one of the greats. All right, guys. I'm just going to do this one last stitch. Oop, one last stitch. And that'll just tuck that lace in nicely. Maybe 2 stitches anyway. Never ends. I might just end that off. I feel like that corner is quite secure now, so that's not going to go anywhere. I'm trying harder to wear my little thimble. It's a little silicone thimble. My poor finger. It really is starting to change its shape due to needlework. And I don't think that's a good thing. So, time to wear some protective gear. All right, guys. Let's have a final little look. That's going to come together great. There we go. All those, oops, got that thread caught. All those little bits just cascading there and then shooting up there. And here comes our little bird. Here comes Mama to look after her eggs, and I'll nestle them back down in here. A couple more stitches because I think that there is swinging in the breeze. So I can secure that as well. All right, guys. Have a lovely day. I hope you get some stitching done wherever you may be. And I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.